The opinions expressed on the Custody Queen Show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal, professional legal advice. The persons discussed are fictional and not based on actual clients.
Thought it was love, had kids in between. You can count on us, we're the Custody Queens. Yeah, you can count on us, we're the Custody Queens.
Happy Saturday, Go Country 105, and to all of our CQ family. We have a super exciting show today called No More Drama. We are the Custody Queens. I am Kristen Holstrom.
And I'm Sam McBride.
And today is all about avoiding drama when it comes to the kids going back and forth between the households.
So we have a very special guest today, and we are so excited to have her here. Thank you. Her name is Bliss Landon. We are so excited to have her with us. Thank you for being here. She is going to talk to us about a great service that is very relevant to family law and the pandemic in general. Before we get into all of that drama, or lack thereof, Kristen and I are going to kind of break the ice with our CQ book. For those of you who don't know what our CQ book is, it is a book full of 1,000,000 times 1,000,000 questions, and we have fun with it, playing a little popcorn. Everyone answers a question, and we just get to know each other a little more.
Yeah, it just breaks the ice and lets us get in the groove for the show.
So, Kristen, I'm going to let you grab a question for Bliss, and we're going to get started.
All right, Bliss, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right, I am going to go to question 1755. Bliss, if you were musically inclined, whom would you want to have a private jam session with?
Oh, wow. Well, I think I would have to say Keith Urban.
OMG, I love Keith Urban. I can't wait for concerts to be back. But if I could have a private jam sesh, it would definitely be with Kane Brown, my all-time fave country singer. What about you, Sam?
I think I'm going to go Gwen Stefani.
Yeah.
I love Gwen.
I love Gwen, too. I love watching.
Even old school Gwen.
Oh, yeah. You know she used to live in Fullerton. That's
She's
where she was
awesome.
raised.
No Doubt days.
Oh, gosh. I was in high school during the No Doubt days.
I love that.
Yeah, that was some fun stuff. There's a lot of people I'd love to have a jam sesh with, like Sublime back in the day, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Or Spice Girls. Ooh. Or Britney Spears, our favorite.
I love Britney.
Brittany.
Yeah, hashtag free Britney movement. All right, Sam, I am now going to pin you down to a Break the Ice question from our CQ book. Let's see here. Question 1685. What do you believe is the deadliest sin?
Ooh, that's deep. The deadliest sin. I don't know. I think I'm going to go with being dishonest.
You know what? It's funny. I had two in my head, and one was a liar, and two was murder.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you kind of trumped me there. Murder might win. Yeah, you're right. Can I rephrase my answer? Do not kill other people. That would be it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the value of human life might be a little bit more. It is definitely more than a lie. But I agree with you that a liar is absolutely a sin that I don't allow liars into my life.
Yeah, it's not a good thing in general to go around being dishonest. And honestly, I don't have the memory of an elephant. I wish I did, but you have to remember a lot more when you're lying. So I think honesty is the best policy.
Yeah, so in summary, don't lie and don't take another human life.
Give me that book. Get a good question for Kristen over here. I think she just made that one up.
I did not. It was 1685.
Oh, look, I could answer this one for Kristen. Question 188. Kristen, in an argument, do you have the last word?
Yes, However, I am working very aggressively on being okay with not having the last word. Yeah, more often than not, yes. However, that is something I am really working on, is listening more than speaking and making it okay not to have the last word.
Yeah, I mean, in Kristen's defense, I'm probably the worst person to argue with. Across the board, my friends and family are like, I just cannot stand fighting with you. I think Kristen can vouch for that. But yeah, Kristen gets the last word in a lot.
See, no comment from me.
Progress. So Bliss, do you want to hear a story?
I would love to.
So Kristen and I are going to jump into our Divorce Wars segment, where we hear a story, a gruesome tale, a fictional fact pattern of family law cases. Kristen and I analyze this fact pattern or these fact patterns, and we just kind of talk about how it relates to family law, and it's a lot of fun.
All right, let's hear that story.
This is Divorce Wars.
My parents' divorce was finalized September of 2014, but the separation of assets is still opened. The short of it is that my dad had always been really jealous. About 2 years ago, my dad got it in his head that my mom was cheating with a baker/police officer in our hometown in Mexico. He hired 2 guys to watch her 24/7. They confirmed that she was cheating and said they had a video. Well, $8,000 and my dad's sanity later, there's no video and my dad is mentally ill. He hired someone else to kill this baker/police officer. Thankfully, they too just took his money and did not kill him. He started going to brothels and sexually harassing women. He said he would leave my mom on the streets and has attempted to pay off judges. My dad was always a good, hardworking man, and now he is someone I don't know. Some say it's a midlife crisis, but the guy is 65 years old, and I feel like if it was a crisis, it should have happened years ago.
Wow, that's a lot of stuff there. My gut instinct there is that there is definitely some mental illness going on with Dad. I am not a medical expert, but that does not sound like a midlife crisis. Usually people going through a midlife crisis have a career change, buy a new red Corvette, travel, but they generally don't hire hitmen and do really random, very scary things.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And kind of at the beginning of the fact pattern, it got brought up, and I think it's a good point to talk about that part of the divorce was finalized, but the other part of the divorce, the assets and debts, were still on the table years later. And I want everyone to kind of know, when you go through a divorce, there's a lot of issues that are brought up: child custody, support, asset division, etc. And you can come to a judgment on certain issues, a partial judgment, and then have other issues still open. So it's something to think about when you have kind of a huge case in front of you. What can you settle? What can you resolve? And sort of help limit the issues for litigation. In this case, it sounds like when they were saying the divorce was finalized, what they mean is that there was a divorce on marital status. We call that bifurcating your marital status, which means after you have started the divorce process and you've met the statutory period, you can be divorced and restored to the status of a single individual while you're waiting for everything else to finalize or litigate it or settle it out.
Which means you can go get remarried.
Woohoo! And hopefully stay married, because we love, Kristen and I.
We do. We always hope that the people in these stories live happily ever after divorced. But, that's not always the case. Another issue that I just want to spot in that fact pattern, and often these stories that we get provided with deal with the component of domestic violence. Clearly, if you notice bodyguards or random third parties following you, stalking you, trailing your car, you find a GPS in your car, you notice weird things going on with your phone tracking, all of that is likely grounds for a restraining order. So I always pursue anyone to make that phone call and call a competent attorney to find out what your options are for protection, because it is not normal to have 2 armed guards following you.
You should also probably call the police.
Yeah, you should definitely call the police. And on the flip side, Hiring 2 armed guards to follow your ex will absolutely result in a restraining order against you, which has a very heavy consequence in the family law case specifically related to custody. There's a presumption in family law that if the court makes a finding of domestic violence, that person should not have custody of the child or children. So
what that means is if a restraining order is issued against you in family law, there is a presumption that could be overcome, and often is, but there is a presumption that it is detrimental for you to have sole or joint custody of your children. That is heavy, and people don't realize that. A lot of times they think, fine, issue a restraining order against me, I don't care, and they don't think through the very serious consequences that could have for your ability to parent your children, at least short term, if not for years and years thereafter.
Yeah, and for this man right there, I think a restraining order might be the least consequential effect that he's going to get in that case. I'm guessing he's ultimately either going to end up on a 5150 hold or he's going to be locked up in a jail cell.
Yeah, I agree.
So, all right, that was a great story.
Yeah, so let's talk to Bliss a little bit. Tell us about yourself, Bliss.
Hi. Well, I'm here to talk about school device coverage. We are insuring school-issued devices to kids, K through 12, colleges, private schools, charter schools. The at-home learning model is happening right now. It's been happening for the past year with COVID, more so than ever. And schools are providing learning devices for their kids to continue learning at home until they go back to school. The devices will still have insurance when they go back to school as well, but it's more popular now because they're at home and the school doesn't have as much control over the device.
So when you say device, can you tell our listeners exactly what you're referring to?
So a device would be a laptop, Chromebook, iPad, notepad, any type of learning device that the kids have been issued to continue their studies at home.
And this is an extremely hot topic for Kristen and I, and for family law attorneys in general, because we are navigating through the educational needs of children and also through these family law issues. So it's not infrequent that Kristen and I see in our practice these fact patterns come up where parents are fighting over costs associated with breaking, necessary equipment, or fighting over who is currently holding on to a school-issued device.
Yeah, and it may not even be fighting. It also may be just related to that, the device was left at someone's house, or the device was accidentally broken because it was left in dad's car, and then there's conflict that's created. Bliss, is there anything else you want to add about what we just talked about on that issue?
Yeah, well, that brings up a good point, is that the device is traveling between households, right? So the kid is putting the backpack the device into their backpack, taking it to each household, throwing it in the corner, twice as much as maybe it would be if it weren't just staying in one place at one time.
Right.
So the risk is a little higher with what's happening right now with COVID, with the at-home learning. And then you add another, variable to it with, going between households. That device is getting travel time a lot.
That's really important to note because many custody and visitation schedules require a lot of back and forth, generally alternating every few days.
Right. And it brings up another good point about the insurance. The insurance that we offer for Chromebooks, which is the typical device that's used across the country for school-aged kids, it runs anywhere from $225 to $325 a device, and to insure it, it's about $20 for the year.
Oh my goodness!
So that's a big savings. It also it may provide a way to not have to go to your ex and say we need to split the if your kid drops it and breaks it completely, it's $300. You don't have to go to your ex and say, I need you to split the cost of this device with me. You may just be apt to just pay the $20.
It helps eliminate acrimony.
Exactly. And then the device is covered, and it's one less thing you have to address your ex about and worry about. And then that device is covered. So, if it gets broken at your house, gets broken at his house, or vice versa, it's covered.
Yeah, and it actually brings up kind of a good point. Kristen, what do you think about including or considering including in family law orders that parents hold insurance over school books or devices.
Yeah, I just had an aha moment as Bliss was speaking exactly on that line, is that we could either, obviously depending on the client and the case, but we could craft out some sort of provision in stipulation and orders or custody agreements that include that either both parties are responsible for the care and the replacement of the devices and or providing insurance and splitting the cost.
Exactly. And, family law is ever evolving, and in custody and child support orders now, we often see orders for insurance, holding out insurance in general, and that's normally medical insurance, dental insurance, things like that. But now we're starting to see a push towards the need for other things, especially in a digital world. So that's actually very interesting.
Yeah, and in my opinion, and I, again, am no expert, but based on the teachers that I've spoken with and other professionals, is the hybrid model will likely continue in some capacity. I don't know that it will be indefinitely, but I do believe that it will continue well into the next year, if not indefinitely on some level or as an option. So I think that this is a good service that is going to exceed well beyond the pandemic.
Absolutely. And it was already starting to get popular, insurance for the learning devices, because all the schools are turning to learning devices. Mm-hmm. And so even before the pandemic, insurance was a hot topic to cover all these devices that the school was buying. I mean, the outlay of money that they're putting towards these devices are really expensive. And a lot of the devices come with warranties, but the warranties don't cover loss, theft, water damage. They don't cover those things.
They don't cover the things that we need.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I have a personal question that's great. I mean, I have a daughter that accidentally dropped her iPad in the bath. So if that was a school registered device and I had purchased the insurance from you and your company, would that be covered under that policy?
Yes.
Oh man, I'm getting it today. I am a huge believer in insurance, and I am the girl that has
her insurance has insurance.
Yeah, my car, auto, umbrella. But I love this, Bliss. Can you tell our listeners exactly how they can sign up or get a policy?
Well, we really try to go through the district because we're trying to get the larger volume of students for any one location. That helps us drive the price down for the premium to the parents. So the main thing is talk to your school about implementing a one-to-one, if they have a one-to-one program, to implement insurance for the one-to-one program or the at-home learning, whatever they're calling it. It keeps changing a little bit.
Right.
And to get in touch with us on schooldevicecoverage.com, and we will set their school up. We'll provide a way for either the district to pay for the insurance or the parents themselves to pay for the insurance.
Yeah, I absolutely love that, and I will be signing up. That your insurance actually sounds better than what I have through, I think it's Apple Care.
Oh yeah, no, all the other products out there, they're very expensive. There's a lot of holes in the coverage that they provide, and we are a full comprehensive insurance product to cover everything.
That's great. I would love to actually add that to, when we're speaking to clients and prospective clients about that may have an issue where virtual learning is happening or one-to-one or at-home school. But yeah, Sam, I think that's something that we should consider adding.
It is, and it helps with kind of the overall theme that Kristen and I we're problem solvers in our practice, but we want to help relieve stress. Family law is stressful as it is. For anyone that has experienced either being a child of divorce or going through a divorce, you know that it is one of the most incredibly difficult, stressful, emotionally draining times in your life. And so kind of the episode, No More Drama, and we're so happy to have Bliss here, is to kind of talk about the essence of that. What can you do to help stop the drama? One of those things is be preventative, as Kristen's kind of bringing up, placing and talking to clients, placing these provisions in orders which help to mitigate drama. Kristen, do you have any other examples of orders that you and I craft, kind of on a regular basis that help to limit drama?
Yeah, I think that is something that you and I are actually very good at, is thinking past the exact time frame that we are in when we're making the order. An example of that is holiday orders. So when you're attorney, or if you're unrepresented, you are proposing or crafting a holiday order, and you don't, think that there's all of these school holidays on Mondays. especially during February when you have President's Day and Martin Luther King Day and you have all those. If you have an order that does not include what happens when the school is out of session or there is a holiday, then you may be at a loss for having a full day on Monday instead of returning the kids to school. Or you have an issue where you're supposed to return the kids to school. Well, when is that? Is that Tuesday morning? Is that Monday night? Is it Sunday night? And guess what? Now there's conflict.
The more specific your court order, generally, not always, but generally, the better. You want to come up with as many specific orders as you can so that if you can't agree down the line, you have something to fall back on so you don't have to go into court, file a motion, spend money on attorney's fees, otherwise stress yourself out. Courts are really limited in having the capacity, even without COVID, to hear your case immediately. It takes quite a bit of time to get in there and have a judge make a decision. So the holiday point that Kristen brought up is such a good one, because a lot of times you will have parents say, we'll just mutually agree on holidays. And that just sounds really like a nice fluffy statement. We get along and we will get along. Well, what happens when you don't? You have to call an attorney, hire an attorney, file a motion, go to court, have the court create an order for you. So it's far better to be preventative to help prevent all that drama. Get it reduced to writing, and then if you have an agreement that you slightly deviate from because you're being flexible, great, you should be flexible.
But you always have that agreement to fall back on. And one thing that we specialize in at the Custody Queens is we see things that most attorneys don't see, especially when it comes to custody cases. And one thing that we implemented right away when the pandemic hit, when the courts were closed and we were all in this place of uncertainty, is when the courts started opening back up and hearings were virtually or remote or in person, depending on the courthouse or the specific case, is that we started adding provisions regarding the pandemic and COVID into agreements. So in the event there was another shutdown, that was already included in your agreement. So there was no question, is school on break? Is school out? Does visitation suspend because the pandemic? Those were all so many questions that we've all been dealing with over the last year. But in reality, they should be answered and they should be implemented into agreement. So there's no question if we go through this again 4 months from now.
Right, and we can't always predict the future, but it's a great point. Because when the pandemic hit and everyone's at home, there's a school of thought that says, well, the children are at home now, so we should be using the summer break schedule rather than the in-school schedule because they're physically at home. And we've kind of resolved that industry-wide, but the more detail you can place into the order, the more you can consider what could happen, in my opinion, the better.
Yeah, and after what I have seen happen this last year, I think that anything is possible in the future. So I like to plan ahead, and we are belt and suspenders type attorneys, and we have plans A, B, and C. Now, Bliss, I think you have a little bit of a personal component to this discussion.
Yes.
And devices and kind of personal experience. Is there anything you want to add?
Well, I like what you just said, because I had that experience where it was better to have everything in writing, and if you can also include insurance in your order, why not? It's just one less thing to argue about, one less thing to try to work out down the road if things become not so amicable. So
yeah, we have enough to worry about. We don't need to worry about small issues that can otherwise become very unnecessarily stressful.
Yeah, and we talk about life insurance, we talk about health insurance. This kind of seems like an easy addition, at least from my end, that I think that I would start addressing with my clients. And hey, for $20 a year, is that per device?
Yeah, per device. I mean, it depends on the device. It depends on if it's a touch screen or a non-touch screen. There's a lot of devices out there. I was giving you a ballpark of the average of what it typically costs.
But it'd be fair to say it's a lot cheaper.
Than replacing the device.
Yeah, I'm not even going to admit how many devices I have replaced in the last year. So I will be insuring multiple devices following this conversation.
Yeah, Kristen doesn't have very good luck with devices and water. I can remember when I first was with the firm, I think that you kind of fumbled and your phone just went into a perfect glass of water. Just perfectly in.
I have dropped it in getting a pedicure straight into the bath bowl.
Oh, no.
I have dropped it in a coffee mug, water. Yeah, and you know, as much as I fight my daughter, she's like me. You know, she loves her bath time and bubbles and the whole bit, and she likes to take her iPad and have her quote unquote alone time. And as much as I fight her from doing that because it's not a good idea, I will say we've only had one issue over the last 4 years, but we have lost an iPad straight to the bottom. And, you know, fighting and arguing with Apple was just a nightmare. And I don't even know what I get for paying that monthly payment. But I love your service. I love what you do. How can listeners reach you, find more about your company?
Just go to schooldevicecoverage.com. We have a great, informative website. We have a video on there that shows a lot of the different things that can happen to a device, and spilling a bowl of cereal, the dog got it, it falls off the table.
It's so great that the dog, like
I can see
the
you
poor
doing that.
dog, the dog ate my homework is now coming
it's
back.
a real thing.
The dog ate the device.
A lot of parents, they'll run over the device with their car.
Yeah,
so
I definitely
they
can see
leave them
that.
on the bumper, on the hood while they get in, or they're doing something and they run over it. So all kinds of things can happen. So, but just go to our website and give us an inquiry, and we'll get you started.
Okay, and that's statewide, yes?
That's nationwide.
Oh, nationwide.
Yes.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
we're
awesome.
in multiple states across the country, and it just is growing.
Wow.
Gangbusters.
Okay,
Yeah.
and just on a personal, question, is do you do any other insurance, or is it just limited to this device?
We do package insurance. So anything that's shipped through UPS, FedEx, the post office, DHL e-commerce, all of those carriers have insurance, but it's very expensive. And we provide a discounted product for them. So we try to go after high volume shippers who ship a lot of something, and they deserve a volume discount, but they're not getting it from the carrier. So they still ship through them, but insure through us at a discount. And that's our UPIC product. Yeah, we've been doing that for 31 years.
That is great. So all of our listeners, if you are interested in this insurance, please visit Bliss's website. It will be posted on our social media as well following the show. So that way, if you forgot it, then you can check out our social media and it will be on there as well. But Sam, I have one question I want to ask you.
Oh no. Deep breath.
I was thinking about this as I was driving this morning. What is one of your funniest court moments?
Oh no. Okay. I would say recently I had a funny court moment with the other side, meaning the other party in a case, and there were some allegations that this person was maybe a little bit struggling mentally, etc., and they were very adamantly saying that there was nothing wrong with them and they were otherwise normal. But every time I saw this person in court in the hallway, the person was very disheveled and kind of looking around, etc. And then I really genuinely looked at them and said, I can literally hear voices coming from your head. And I was not being mean or facetious. I could literally hear sound. And I realized that this person had smuggled in a listening music device under their mask. So they were really just looked crazy, but weren't crazy. And I was like, this is probably not how you want to show up to court, and act normal.
Yeah, when someone is being, accused or not accused, that's not the right word. When there's an allegation that someone has, mental abuse or has history with mental abuse, I guess a lesson there is don't be talking to yourself or don't have it appear that you're talking to yourself in the hallway with a mask with making gestures, right?
Right. And honestly, mental illness is nothing to ever joke about. It's a very serious thing, and it happens in family law a lot. And I don't want anyone to think that Kristen and I in any way, shape, or form are taking light of this. But this was just a funny moment where I could literally hear someone's voice, and it was not theirs. It was music, but it made them look crazy when they're probably otherwise normal. But
and masks are making that a little. Masks are hiding a lot of facial expressions and a lot of things. So it's just an interesting world we're all living in.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we are out of time for today again. I swear this show goes by way too quickly, or maybe I talk too long. But thank you guys all for listening to us and our Go Country family. And thank you so much, Bliss, for coming here and sharing your story and your service with us. Our listeners, I am sure, are very, very interested after hearing our show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And thank you all for listening. Join us next Saturday at 8:30 a.m. on Go Country 105. And make sure that you call us at 1-800-419-7772. That's 1-800-419-7772. And check out our social media for giveaways and updates on our websites for all information, including what we talked about today. And remember, let love rule.